Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. Thank you as always for your tweets. Craig and Ian with us. In case you didn't see the show, we confirm that that is not Ian's shower curtain. He's not sat on the toilet doing this this Extra Time today. This is your living room, yeah, Ian?
It really is my living room, and I'm going to have a word with my wife about the curtains, I think, because they've taken some terrible, terrible stick tonight on this show.
Okay, then. Should Liverpool take the last few games of the Premier League seriously? Based off of today, it seems like they aren't. It's not their prerogative, is it, Craig?
I think they are taking it seriously, as serious as possible in the circumstances of their historic league win. But I think subconsciously, as a player, when you know there's nothing on the line, really, and there isn't for them, then the performance drops. And it only has to drop, 10, 15% at this level of football, and you'll get taken to the cleaners against the best sides. And that's what City are. They're one of the best. I dare say if Liverpool play like that against, a bottom half team of the Premier League, it's probably not going to be an issue. But against Man City, who have still got cup competitions to play for, have still got the Champions League to play for, the FA Cup semi-finals, these guys are still playing for places. That's the big difference.
Ian, do you think Pep will trust Foden enough and not buy a replacement for David Silva?
I think he's got to, really, because he's really spoken a lot about how this is a special player, a special talent. He's the future of the club, and it is Phil Foden's time now. I think he's scored 4 goals in 3 starts since we had the resumption of the league. He looks the part now. I mean, David Silva, that's big boots to fill. He could never be David Silva. He's a wonderful, wonderful player. But he is a talent, and I think it's his time. And I think it would be depressing, really, if Pep went out into the marketplace and spent 60, 70 million on somebody else.
Ian, do you think Go on, Craig.
Sorry, I think he could grow into David Silva, which would be no mean feat, because, as you know, like most people, I've been a huge fan of his. Sort of 8 out of 10 most weeks, if it's not a 9 out of 10. But I think I heard somebody say, or I saw it somewhere, that Guardiola had already told the City board that, yeah, he needs money to spend in areas that are obvious, but they didn't have to rush out and worry about a replacement for David Silva, because he had so much confidence in Phil Foden. So I don't think we'll see Manchester City spending the money in that area. I think there are too many other needs, which I don't really need to highlight there in terms of the defensive problems. So I think he's so enthralled with Foden's progress that he's told the City board, look, we don't have to rush out and spend a fortune. As good as David Silva is, we've got other players here and a youngster that can come in, learn and do a job.
Ian, time to go through the memory banks. What's the biggest upset that you've ever witnessed while commentating a match, and how did the fans react?
I'd have to go off the top of my head for that game I covered in the World Cup in 2014. Brazil 1, Germany 7. Brazil had never lost a competitive home game since 1975 before that. So that was a massive upset, even though the opposition were as good as Germany. Who'd have thought they'd rip them to shreds like that? I think they got 5 in 29 minutes at one stage of the game. So, yeah, I'd go for that one. Ones I witnessed anyway.
Even on TV, that was bonkers. Every time you looked up, Germany had scored another goal. It was absolutely crazy. Craig, should Chelsea sign a centre-back?
Yeah, I mean, there is a good argument to say that, and not just off the back of the performance yesterday against West Ham, there is an argument to say that Rudiger needs a partner. Now, that might sound strange, because Rudiger had one of his poorer games for Chelsea against West Ham, but I think ultimately he is their best defender and best centre half. I don't know, Christensen's not a bad player. Zuma is a player who is capable, and young Tomori is a talented young guy. It's just how much Frank Lampard worries about whoever's going to play alongside Rudiger, whether he thinks he needs to go out and buy another one. He's certainly going to be looking at a left back, I believe. And obviously he's got his front man in Timo Werner. So the options there are sort of sewn up. I think there's an argument to say he'll be looking at a centre-back, but he's got 3 at least that can partner Rudiger. It's just whether he's got enough confidence in them to do the job. On last night's showing, I think it's doubtful.
How much does Sané improve Bayern, Ian?
Well, a bit, but I think he needs time to get up to speed again because he's been out of the game a long time, out of favour and injured and left out of the World Cup. So it'll take a little bit of time, I think. But if he gets back to his best, he's an asset for anybody.
And talk about a tweet right up your street, Craig. In honour of Liverpool's first half performance, any good stories of teammates playing hungover?
Well, in an end of season game, yes.
Yeah.
Actually, we went to Hong Kong and Thailand and around that whole area at the end of season with Chelsea one year. And I was convinced Ruud Gullit had left me out in the final only a few days before the FA Cup final. And we get to Hong Kong and we're partying like hell. And we're getting off the bus at the game and we're all still hungover. Most of us, some of us. And he names the teams we're coming off the bus and I'm only playing. And I'm warming up, right? I'm warming up on the pitch and the lads are some of the lads are sitting in the technically or the dugout, the bench, whatever you call it nowadays, and they're absolutely killing themselves laughing at me. Because I'm all over the parish, honestly. And it was not a nice feeling at all. But I wasn't expecting to play, but it wasn't a competitive game.
Right.
As for a competitive game, I don't think so, although I'm sure it has happened. But I don't remember any of my teammates intentionally being hungover because I don't really know many that would drink 24 hours before a game.
Ian, you would never commentate hungover, would you?
Never commentate, but going back, I mean, there was a huge booze culture. I mean, everybody knows that going back before the time Craig was playing. But, go back to the 1960s, some teams used to have a little catchphrase like win or lose, we're on the booze. They'd be playing away up in Blackburn or Blackpool, and they'd ordered crates of beer. They'd bought out whole off licenses full of beer to take on the train home. And would almost have to be carried off the train when they got back. So that was just part of the game then. Of course, I think it's much, much more professional now. And if you want to look back at some Christmas games way back when, have a look at the score lines and you'll understand that maybe not everybody was in tip-top condition.
Listen, don't let commentators tell you they're not having a bevy the night before a game, Dan. You know it, I know it.
I seem to remember a night out of the three of us. Do you not remember the three of us went out? And
yes.
Did you have a game after that night, Ian?
Funnily enough, no.
Oh.
I don't think I did. Did I? Well, if I did, I'm going to deny it here now.
Listen, I've had many a night out with commentators and colleagues the night before a game. In fact, I remember Champion saying to me in South Africa at the 2010 World Cup, because we were travelling around the country, as you know, Dan, doing games, and so we were going from pillar to post, and we'd always go out for a meal the night before or whatever it is day we arrived. And I remember him saying one night, Right, Craig, that very posh.
Yes.
Right, Craig, I think we've all had enough red wine tonight. We have a game tomorrow. And I says, we're commentating the game, John. We're not playing. Get another bottle of wine. You soft sod.
You've got to relax a little bit as well. I mean, if you're on a World Cup trip, Craig's right. Yeah, you're going to go and have a meal and you might have one wine too many. Sometimes.
It's all right. You're 16. You can drink, do what you want.
Here's a story for you. Here's a story for you. We was driving from somewhere in South Africa to Johannesburg because the flight was cancelled. And we're on a right night out the night before. It might have been the red wine night, but I think it was another one. And, we couldn't stop. It was me, Champers, the sound engineer, the producer, and a couple of South African people that travelled with us for a month. And we enjoyed ourselves. So we overindulged that evening. And I remember the next day, Dan, I was hanging. Right, I was hanging. No matter how many tablets I took, I couldn't get rid of the headache. But I had no game that day. I had 2 days off.
Right.
And we're in this minibus driving back to Johannesburg, which was the base for ITV. And I'm in the back, and it's like a small, like 6 or 7 seater, and I'm on the back seat, and I'm lying down, and I'm like 4-hour journey to Joburg. It's boiling hot, and I'm hanging, and the phone rings, and the producer Mitch Price picks it up, and it's ITV HQ down in Joburg, and they're going, and I hear Mitch Price going, yeah, he's here, and he's looking behind him, and he's going, yeah, he's here. Tonight. Oh yeah, I'll tell him tonight. And I was like, somebody had gone downhill, and I was now getting told I had to go and do an off-tube commentary with Ian Crocker in Joburg that evening, and I was lying in the back of the van, and I couldn't even pick my head off the chair. That was horrible, mate. Horrible. So you shouldn't really. It's very unprofessional to drink before a game, but only if you play.
Only if you're playing. I remember the night when I tried to keep up with you and Steve McManaman when we went out. That was a big mistake.
That was when you called me a very bad name in a public place.
They had to do the show the next day, and the lights have never felt hotter. My God.
But that wasn't the same. But that was also a different night when you tried to keep up with me on a different night, and then you spilt your drinks. And the barman
that was just a job's worth barman.
The barman came over to me and said, I can't serve you guys anymore. I said, why? I'm having a great time. He says, your friend.
No, I was fine that night. That was just job.
He's no friend of mine.
We should make it clear, guys, to all the viewers that watching Extra Time tonight, that when we talk about drinking, we only mean lemonade, don't we?
Yep, that's it. Final point. Since a bubble environment is being created for the restart of MLS, NBA, etc., could the ESPN FC crew live together in a bubble for several months, if required to continue the show? Who would suffer cabin fever first? Which person would most likely break the rules and sneak out?
Well, one thing we know is you know, it would be hard to control the sweating up in the paddock from Gab Marcotti. You know, that would be difficult. Well, Stevie would have to be sneaking out because clearly none of us are able to dish up a shepherd's pie.
Yes.
So, and other things.
Shaka sneaks out. Like when we go on trips, he disappears for like the whole night, and then he's just suddenly there for breakfast.
Dan, I think it'd be you. I think you'd be the one to break the lockdown, to break the bubble.
I don't know. Out of everyone,
you're this extrovert guy. You've got to be out there.
just Craig will kick me out. That'd be it. Who would enjoy it the most? I don't know.
Who would enjoy it the most?
Yeah.
Oh, but it would be the journalists who enjoy it the most.
Gab would. He would just be telling stories.
Yeah. They'd be telling stories, and you know, we'd be like, oh, I can't say it. Telling stories about bleeding his time in Japan or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
He'd have that jacket on that's got like 55 zip pockets.
What about Frank? Frank would start doing one-man plays for us. That could drive us completely crazy.
By the way, you'd have to get a muzzle for Frank. There's no doubt about it. Having spent a year at Chelsea with him, Frank would have to wire Frank's jaws together just to get him to shut up. I'm telling you.
I think that's where we're going to end today's Extra Time, as eclectic as ever. Thank you very much.
Robbo would have to get out to talk about wing backs. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Robbo, the wing backs. Rob would be like, well, the wing backs.
Yeah, that's very true.
Who else?
Don would have to leave to get service to ring Frank Lampard.
Yeah, Don would get Lamparditis after a little week or so.
he misses beloved Frank. That'd be it. Okay.
But at least what we could do though is, if we wanted to partition ourselves from each other, Ian could bring the shower curtain material.
Yes, exactly. That's good.
Yes. But you wouldn't have any problems with me because I've got a shower very handy.
You certainly do. Ian, you've got to pull it back just so we can see.
I don't think I can actually.
It's a show. Oh, there it is.
All it is, look, is the glass through to the conservatory. That's all it is. I mean, I'd like there was something more mysterious and interesting for you, but that's it. It's dark here. You know, I'm 5 hours different.
So love it.
What did you think was going to be behind the curtain, by the way?
Oh, it'd be brilliant if somebody was behind the curtain all this time. Right, that's good. We're done. Thank you very much, guys. ESPN FC back on your screens tomorrow. Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.